You flush the toilet in your cabin, it disappears, and you never think about it again. Except on one sailing I worked, 1,200 passengers thought about it constantly, because it came back up through the shower drains on deck 7. And I know what you're thinking. David, I didn't come on a cruise to learn about sewage systems. Fair. But here's why this matters. What you don't know about how waste actually works on a ship affects which cabin you book, what you flush, how you respond when something goes wrong, and whether you're one of the passengers who ends up trapped in a cabin that smells like a truck stop bathroom for 3 days while the crew works on it. That happened. I was there. I'm David. I just left a 14-year career working guest services on cruise ships, mainstream lines, premium lines, luxury. And the waste system is one of those things passengers assume just works, until it doesn't. And when that system fails, it affects everything. And when it doesn't, most people have no idea what's actually happening, what's causing it, who to talk to, or what to ask for. This isn't about scaring you. It's about understanding a system that processes thousands of gallons of human waste, shower water, galley grease, and laundry runoff every single day. So you know what's normal, what's not, and exactly what to do if you're the one standing in a cabin with a backed-up toilet on embarkation day. Let's start with what actually happens when you flush. Most passengers think it goes into a tank somewhere, out of sight, out of mind. That's not how it works. Every toilet on a cruise ship uses a vacuum system. Not gravity like your house. Air pressure pulls the waste through pipes that run vertically and horizontally across multiple decks. It's efficient, it saves water, and it works brilliantly. Until someone treats it like the toilet in their bathroom at home. The problem is the pipes are narrow, much narrower than you'd think, and the vacuum system can't handle the stuff people flush. I'm talking about wipes, even the ones that say flushable on the package. Cotton balls, dental floss, maxi pads, tissues, napkins from the buffet, paper towels. All of it clogs the lines. I've seen engineering pull a towel out of a vacuum line, a full-size bath towel. Someone flushed it. We never found out who. If you see a backup in your cabin, don't wait for housekeeping to show up with a plunger. Call guest services immediately and say this: "There's a plumbing issue in my cabin. The toilet isn't flushing properly, and I'd like a supervisor to check the vacuum system, not just plunge it." Those words get you engineering. Engineering can actually fix it. A plunger can't fix a vacuum line clog 3 decks below your cabin. So where does it actually go? Everything you flush goes into massive holding tanks below the waterline. There are different tanks for different types of waste. Black water is toilets. Gray water is sinks and showers. Bilge water is runoff from the engine room. They're kept separate because they're treated differently. Ships have onboard treatment plants. Your black water gets treated, filtered, disinfected. The cruise lines will tell you it comes out cleaner than what most coastal cities discharge into the ocean. That's mostly true. The system works. But it only works if the volume stays manageable and nothing clogs the lines. Here's what passengers don't realize. The ship is constantly processing and dumping. It's not waiting until the end of the cruise. You're sailing over your own treated waste from 2 days ago. Treated black water can be discharged at sea, but only beyond a certain distance from shore. Usually 12 nautical miles, depending on the flag state and local port regulations. Untreated black water? Illegal everywhere. Gray water rules are looser. Shower water, sink water, that can be dumped closer to shore in a lot of places. But some ports have stricter rules. Alaska, parts of Europe, the Caribbean marine protected areas. The ship has to follow those rules or risk massive fines. Let me tell you about Deck 7, 7-day Caribbean sailing, embarkation day. Around 10 at night, guest services gets a call. Water coming up through her shower drain. Smells like sewage. We send engineering. 10 minutes later, we get another call. Same deck, 2 cabins down. Then another. By midnight, we had 8 cabins with the same problem. What happened was a vacuum line clogged during embarkation. You've got thousands of people boarding the ship in the span of a few hours. The backup went into the gray water line, which reversed pressure and sent it back up through the shower drains in those cabins. We moved the passengers, closed the whole corridor. Everyone's flushing, showering, using the sink. The system couldn't keep up. Engineering worked through the night. Took them 6 hours to clear the line. What we didn't tell them was that someone had flushed a bath towel and it got stuck halfway down the vacuum line. We never found out who did it. Could have been an accident, could have been a kid. Didn't matter. 12 cabins were affected. Half of those passengers spent their first night in an interior cabin on deck 3. If you want to avoid being one of those passengers, pay attention to where your cabin is. Some cabins are right on top of the main waste lines. You can't see them on the deck plan, but they're there. Waste lines run vertically through the aft section on most ships. Lower decks near the stern, decks 2, 3, 4, you're more likely to hear noise, feel vibration. Cabins near the galley or the laundry are another risk. Gray water from the galley is nasty. Grease, food waste, cleaning chemicals. If there's a leak or a backup, you'll smell it before you see it. When you're booking, call the cruise line and say this: "I'd like to avoid cabins near major plumbing or waste lines. Can you confirm whether this cabin is located near the ship's main waste processing area or directly above the galley?" Most reservation agents won't know the answer. That's fine. Ask them to escalate it to someone who does. Someone in shoreside operations or the deck planning team can tell you. It takes an extra 5 minutes. It's worth it. I'll tell you what, I worked on 3 different ships, and on every single one, there were cabins we knew had issues. Cabins where you could hear the waste lines gurgling at night. Cabins that flooded every time there was heavy rain because the deck drains couldn't handle the volume. We didn't advertise those problems. We just waited to see if the passenger would complain. Now let's talk about what the cruise lines don't advertise. The discharge rules they follow, and the ones they don't. International maritime law sets the minimums. Your flag state sets its own rules on top of that. Port authorities can impose even stricter standards. So depending on where the ship is registered, where it's sailing, and what port it's approaching, the rules change constantly. And here's the thing. Enforcement is almost non-existent. Open ocean discharge is nearly impossible to monitor. The industry self-reports. They tell the authorities what they're dumping and where. There's no one out there checking. When they do get caught, the fines are massive. Princess paid $40 million in 2016 for illegal discharge and covering it up. Carnival paid $20 million in 2019. These aren't small operators cutting corners. These are the biggest names in the industry. And those are just the ones that got caught. What do you see as a passenger? Nothing. You're not told when the ship is discharging. You're not told where. It happens while you're at dinner, while you're sleeping, while you're on a shore excursion. The treated black water goes over the side. The gray water goes over the side. And unless something goes very wrong, you never know it happened. I'm not saying every line is dumping illegally. I'm saying the system relies on trust, and the ocean is big. Here's what else goes overboard that passengers don't think about. Gray water has loopholes. In a lot of places, gray water can be discharged with minimal treatment. That includes your shower water mixed with shampoo, soap, and body oils. Galley water with grease and food particles. It's not as clean as the brochures suggest. Bilge water is supposed to be separated and processed before discharge. Oil and fuel get filtered out. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes bilge water gets mixed with gray water and dumped. I've seen it. Not every ship, not every sailing, but it happens. The crew takes shortcuts. I watched laundry staff dump industrial chemicals straight into the gray water system instead of holding them for proper disposal. I watched galley workers pour fryer oil down the drain instead of storing it in waste containers. Small things. Routine things. Things that add up over a 7-day sailing with 3,000 people on board. Why does it happen? Speed, volume, pressure. The ship has to process an impossible amount of waste in a very short time. And when you're behind schedule, corners get cut. No one's trying to poison the ocean. They're just trying to get through their shift. Now let's talk about what happens when the system fails completely. The main treatment plant goes down. The ship can't legally discharge. The holding tanks start to fill up, and eventually, the toilets stop flushing. This happened on Carnival Triumph in 2013. Passengers were told to use plastic bags. Sewage was running down the hallways. People were sleeping on the deck because their cabins were uninhabitable. What are you entitled to when that happens? Contractually, almost nothing. Every cruise contract has a clause that says the line isn't responsible for mechanical failures beyond their control. They can cancel the cruise, refund your fare, and send you home. That's it. But here's what they'll actually offer if you push. A cabin move if one's available, onboard credit, a partial refund, sometimes a full refund if the sailing gets cut short. You have to ask for it. It's discretionary. They're not going to announce it over the intercom. If you're dealing with a plumbing failure that makes your cabin unlivable, call guest services and say this: "This is a health and safety issue. I'd like to be moved to a functioning cabin immediately, and I'll need documentation of this incident for a future compensation claim." Don't ask if it's possible. Tell them what you need. Documentation is the key word. That tells them you're serious and you're not going away. I had a couple on a luxury line. Suite passengers. Toilet backed up on day 1. Engineering came, couldn't fix it. It was a main line issue affecting multiple cabins. We moved them to another suite, gave them $500 onboard credit, sent them a bottle of champagne. They still complained to corporate when they got home. Got a 25% future cruise credit on top of everything else. The squeaky wheel works. Here's the part nobody wants to talk about. A modern cruise ship with 4,000 passengers and crew produces as much waste as a small city every single day. All of that waste gets treated and dumped into the ocean. Even when it's legal, even when it's processed correctly, it's still thousands of gallons of treated effluent going into the water. The places it affects most are the ones with heavy cruise traffic and fragile ecosystems. The Caribbean, the Mediterranean, Alaska. Enclosed seas where the water doesn't flush out quickly. The waste builds up over time. I'm not telling you not to cruise. I cruised for 14 years. I'll probably cruise again. But this is part of the system. If you care about the environmental side, cruise less frequently. Pick lines with newer ships that have better processing systems. And for the love of God, don't flush anything that doesn't belong in a marine toilet. If you want the full breakdown of which cabins to avoid and the exact scripts to use when something goes wrong on board, I've got all of that in my ebook, The Cruise Insider's Playbook. There's a whole section on ship systems, crew escalation paths, and how to get moved or compensated when the ship fails you. It's at davidcruises.com, and you can use code YOUTUBE25 to get 25% off right now. Links in the description. Here's the thing. The waste system works most of the time. You'll probably never deal with a backup, a smell, or a health issue. But when it fails hard, and the passengers who know what's happening, who to call, and what to ask for, are the ones who get moved, compensated, and taken care of. You don't need to memorize all of this. Just know 2 things. Don't flush anything except toilet paper and human waste. And if something goes wrong, don't wait for housekeeping to fix it with a plunger. Call guest services, use the words I gave you, and escalate. I spent 14 years watching people treat cruise ship systems like they're indestructible. They're not. They're engineering marvels running at full capacity with no margin for error. Respect the system, and the system works. Ignore it, and you're the one standing in a hallway at midnight with your luggage, waiting for a new room. Before your next cruise, check your cabin location. Avoid lower decks near the stern. Avoid cabins above the galley. Avoid anything listed as obstructed view near the waterline. That's often code for you're close to something you don't want to be close to. And if you're booking now, ask the agent specifically about plumbing and waistline proximity. Most won't know. Some will. It's worth the ask. If this changed the way you think about your next cabin choice, or if you just want to make sure you're never the person dealing with a sewage backup in the middle of the Caribbean, go grab the Cruise Insider's Playbook at davidcruises.com. Code YOUTUBE25 gets you 25% off. It's got the cabin decoder, the exact words for every situation, and the crew cheat sheet that tells you who actually fixes what. It's the book I wish I could have handed passengers at the desk. If this saved you from booking Deck 3 aft, I did my job. I'll see you on the next one.